We're pleased to be joined now by Terri Trepek and Susan Siegel. They are the co-owners of Event Bliss and Gifts in Franklin. Joining us now on the show, Susan, Terri, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate having you on. So for those that have never been to Event Bliss and Gifts in Franklin, tell us a little bit about what your business is, what people can expect to get when they come down to Event Bliss and Gifts.
So we have a little bit of everything. We have a home, baby, we have activewear, we have clothing, we have handbags, bath and body. So where we started was, and then hence the name Event Bliss, is Susie did party planning, I did invitations. We came together and we opened this store thinking that we were only going to be doing event style stuff. And then we suddenly found that we had extra space and we kept adding and adding and adding. And then because of the pandemic, we had to pivot a little bit because there were no events. And
we added a lot of things to our mix. And from that, we really grew. And now that events are coming back, we have also expanded. And we have a little annex that's kitty corner to our store right in the same parking lot where we're doing all of our invitations, party planning, and custom logo wear for those events.
So what has changed about event planning at this stage of the pandemic versus pre-pandemic? And what elements of those changes do you believe may sustain themselves even after we're finally done with COVID-19 at some point eventually?
Well, what happened basically is, numbers had to be smaller. We had to, change our whole game plan as to how many people you could have, how spaced apart everything was. So a lot of the venues will dictate how many people you can have and what their precautions they have in place. And what's been difficult is rearranging and changing and, like Terri said, pivoting, to account for this many people, to wear masks, to have all the servers and staff wearing gloves and masks, no buffets anymore, no, stations where people can pick up food. It was all more served and all individualized. And so a lot of things were really very detail oriented of how everything would come into play. The events have been really difficult. And we've really managed to, this summer, do quite a few events because people want to get out and they want to have parties and they want to have celebrations and enjoy things. But even as much as, doing celebrations of life, those were hard too. And those have been postponed a year and a half. And so now people are saying, you know what? Those people can't be forgotten either. We're doing those as well. So we're really trying to customize what our clients want, but also be safe at the same time. So it has been very difficult.
Another thing, and I've been telling my clients this, there is a paper shortage, and nobody really believed me, except on the Today Show. I got confirmation. They did a whole segment that there is truly a paper shortage. So it's taking a much longer time to get your invitations. So if you really think that you're going to have an event, I highly recommend, start looking for your invitations as soon as possible, because like every other industry, not only is there a shortage, but there is also, a lot less people working in those industries.
Right. Yeah. So we tell everybody to plan ahead. We also do the planning. So we're here, a year, 8 months in advance. Really, you need to have all your game plan and all your ducks in a row, especially like Terri said, the invitations or anything that has to do with printing materials.
Yeah, I mean, people aren't getting wood right now. They're not getting it for their construction sites, and if they're not getting the wood for that, then that wood's also not going toward paper mills, or if it is, it's not in great supply, and they're all limited in what they're distributing. They're getting it out to as many clients as they can, either on a priority basis or based on the size of their contracts with these certain vendors of theirs and clients of theirs. And so there's going to be that shortage, and that's all the more reason why preparation is that much more important. And right now, people plan their events depending on the size and the scale of what they're planning. Some will go about planning it on their own. They're very detail oriented. They've done some of this stuff before. But others will seek a consultant like the two of you over at Event Bliss and Gifts in Franklin. And so how much more important right now, given the circumstances that we're under with, of course, COVID-19, but also with supply chain issues, is it to consult with an expert in the field as you're trying to plan an event that is safe but is also going to be fun for people that do attend and do take in that experience?
Well, I think people take for granted really what we do. And lately I've been saying, it's a bit of a thankless job sometimes because they don't realize how many times we have to make the calls for the invitations or the menus or the changing of guest counts even. You're updating that constantly. I have a client that is having a wedding in a few weeks, and we've changed her transportation situation 3 times already. Well, the transportation company, for example, has had 2 buses on hold for them. Well, now they only need 1 bus, and the bus company or the transportation company shouldn't really suffer, but at the same time, you don't want your client to have to pay for a second bus. So it's really managing and balancing both. I also had a client 2 weeks ago that was doing a party outside with portable restrooms. Well, with 60 people, you don't need portable restrooms. Those 60 people can walk into the venue, which we felt at the time was a good idea to have. Well, it was a huge expense, $2,500 for that. That helps them a lot if we can take that off their budget. So there's a lot of juggling, and people do not realize that the planners, or when you're doing invitations, or when you're doing even menus, or when you're doing description information, the things change. So we're changing for them too. So that takes our time and everybody else's time, and then you're changing the whole thing up. You're not just changing a part of it. You're making a lot of changes that affect a lot of people. So that's part of it too. It's not just the planning, it's canceling and rearranging that takes so much time that our clients sometimes just don't realize. It's just a phone call. It's not just a phone call. It's redoing contracts and redoing, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work. We also have clients that are doing parties in the fall through November and December, but they're going to postpone the party part of it for a later date. And that's planning 2 things. It's not just one, it's 2. So it's more work for the planners, absolutely. And I don't think that people realize how much work it really is and how much time is involved. And,
especially when you're playing catch up. We had a lot of weddings that were canceled or postponed in 2020, a lot that were canceled or postponed early on in 2021, as well as other events. And as there starts to be more allowance for that and more comfort for those things to come back, people want to try to get those events, and especially those life events such as weddings, back into play in short order. And that's going to take a lot of additional planning, probably more, I would presume, than goes into a regular planning situation for a ceremony like that.
Correct. And also too, the time that's involved, like people, when they're looking at invitations or they're sourcing out to different vendors for that takes time. So we kind of cut that time down by giving them vendors that we've had great success with and work with us price wise. And because we've given them so much business, they're willing to work with us too and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give your client a 10% discount because you've given us so much business. And that helps our client. It doesn't help us. It goes directly to the client.
We're joined by Terri Trepek and Susan Siegel. They are the co-owners of Event Bliss and Gifts in Franklin. It is located just across the street in Franklin from the Franklin Cider Mill. And over the course of the pandemic, we saw a lot of businesses have a great amount of struggle, especially early on, as businesses, in many cases, were hard shut down because of COVID-19 restrictions that were in place and lockdowns that were initially put in place by the state government in order to combat the spread of COVID-19. And as regulations were put in place and businesses were reopened for limited for limited in-person business, they had to completely change their business model. And in your case, your business was able to survive all that. You're still here. You're still operating out of Franklin as you did pre-pandemic. What did the two of you do to continue to operate your business, to continue to bring in revenue, and to survive the pandemic? What changes did you have to make in order to survive what otherwise could have easily been a complete shutdown and a potential for losing your business?
Well, the first thing we did was we sold masks. That was at the very beginning of the pandemic. We sold masks. So, we that's how we made most of our money at the beginning. And then slowly but surely, people, they weren't spending money on trips or dinners out, so they wanted to shop. And we were selling masks, so when they would pick up their masks, they might buy an extra pair of pants or a sweater here or there, and that helped.
And the loungewear really made a huge
dent in our
help to our business.
Right.
But now people don't want loungewear. They want to be able to go out.
Right.
And what we really did is we also started a website, which has been difficult too. We've got to load everything in, and we've got a lot of SKUs in the store, a lot of different departments and different items. So a website, social media. We did a lot with social media. We also offered, free delivery to their house. We would drop it off. FaceTime, curbside, appointments. And now people call us too and say, hey, you know what? I need gifts. I need this. I need that. And we're still, there's a lot of people that are still not going out to stores. And so they'll call us and say, I need this or I need that. And we'll show them pictures or FaceTime and deliver it to them, or they'll pick it up, when it's convenient for them without coming into the store still. They're still doing that.
There was a great article this morning from the Associated Press that was posted by the Oakland Press about how some businesses, not just here in the Metro Detroit area or in the U.S., but all around the world, have had to adapt in order to survive through the pandemic. And in many cases, some of them were able to get a significant amount of their revenue back, maybe not anywhere close to half of what they were bringing in pre-pandemic, or maybe they were able to at best get around half of what they were getting pre-pandemic, but it's still a lot different than next to nothing. And in many cases, they've seen that those changes they've made could potentially bring even greater potential for their business after this pandemic is done. Do you see a lot of these changes that you've made during the pandemic because of the circumstances of COVID-19, because of your need to do whatever you can to keep your business operating and surviving throughout this? Do you see any of those tactics continuing on after the pandemic?
Absolutely. Yeah. The news and the press have said that there is not a baby boom, that the that the birth rate went down, and we don't see that at all. I mean, I don't know if you can see from behind us, we've got a whole baby department. We ended up moving our invitations, our printing, and our planning into, like I said, another building right in our same parking lot, steps away. And we expanded our baby business because whatever they say, we've got a boom here in Michigan.
Right. And
we've had, and New York, California, Florida. Yes, we are doing tons of baby, and we expanded our baby department. We've also expanded our retail, which we had to do because of we weren't doing parties or invitations. Exactly. So we had to do it. Right. And we, again, pivoted our business. And now, we're seeing the party planning, all that coming back. But yeah, we absolutely did. We upped our game on baby clothing. We even changed our whole physical look of the store. We changed it completely. And also made it very friendly for people to shop. They get customer service, which a lot of the department stores don't have as many employees, so nobody to wait on them or say, oh, this looks good, or what about this, or
Susie and myself we're always here. We're not a huge store, so you don't have to worry about if you come into the store. We're not packed, with people in it, so you don't, it's very COVID cautious. We're out, we're always wearing masks, even though we are obviously vaccinated. I don't think you don't have to wear a mask, but we
always do. Or you know what? We ask people if they're more comfortable when there's a lot of people. Hey, you know what? We'll say to a few people, hey, can you wait outside for a few minutes? Go grab some cider and donuts. Come back in like 10 minutes, because we want it to be comfortable for everybody, and we want to be comfortable ourselves. We've been fortunate in, a lot of businesses in downtown Franklin have closed. About 6 of them. There's one restaurant. They're not open anymore for lunch. So we've had to pull from our own clientele and really work it ourselves. And I don't think I've ever worked harder in my life, and Terri the same. I mean, we are here. We will adapt. If somebody wants a nighttime appointment or a weekend, we are open on Saturday, but people are saying, oh, could you come in for me on Sunday? We'll do it if we have to. I mean, we're doing whatever we have to do to make our business survive. And so far it's working really well. We have a lot of support from our customers that don't want to see the specialty stores close. And they see that the department stores or the chain stores are suffering too. And they're, they want that personalized service where you're not getting it from a department store anymore because there's no employees working there.
Or shopping online.
And shopping online, they don't want to do it anymore. They're done. They shopped online for a year and a half. I myself did too. And I got things that didn't fit, didn't look the same, had to go return them. They want to touch and feel it. They want to try it on. They want to feel good in it. And they like the art of shopping, which, for a couple of years really was dying. Everybody was buying everything online. So in a way, it has helped our small business, and people know about us now. We're going into our 9th year. And we never planned on being a retail store with all these categories. And we really love it. And I'm still excited to come to work. So as long as I'm excited and happy to come to work, we'll be here.
Joined by Terri Trepek and Susan Siegel. They're the co-owners of event Bliss Gifts in Franklin, joining us on the MegaCast. Before we let you go, anything else that would be important or interesting for our audience to know about your event planning services or about your store before we say goodbye?
We're open every day, 11 to 5, and usually we're here later, Monday through Saturday. And we're here to help in any way we can, whether it's with events or clothing or gifts or whatever. Give us a call, and we're happy to help.